Okay, good morning, everyone. I am here today a little disheveled, just had a toucan clearing out the driveway. And again, I want to go talk about my steps to health and happiness that I've done in previous ones. And I will start by sharing my screen to bring that list up. And again, I'm not necessarily doing these in order. Today, I'd like to talk about number 3, move often at leisurely pace. More often, not more, overall is better. Outside when convenient. So I want to start off with a little bit of a tangent here. Is you often hear things like 10,000 steps a day or 150 minutes of activity per week. And of course, people then turn out and go and count their steps on their various tools. And I do it too. Although the main reason I have a Fitbit is because I really want to track my sleep, which goes back to number 1, because I believe that sleep is ultra important to overall health. Without good sleep, nothing else really matters, in my opinion. But people will go out and try to get those 10,000 steps. So it's like 8 o'clock at night and they're haven't got their 10,000 steps yet. So they're going to walk around the couch a few times to get the extra steps. And the other one's the 150 minutes. So people say, well, 150 minutes a week, I got to go jogging 5 days a week or a brisk walk or whatever, 5 times at 30 minutes each time. And a lot of studies actually, as I look more into starting to look at studies about different things, are not real rigid in my opinion. As a matter of fact, some of these are what I think are called observational studies, where they'll turn around and say, well, look, more active people tend to be healthier. But I think the actual numbers, the 10,000, the 150 minutes, are pretty much arbitrary. I doubt, and somebody can correct me if they're aware of a study, where they turned around and tracked people who did 150 versus 120 versus 100 versus 80 versus none at all. I think that it's probably more or less observational. And again, as my number 3 rather says, it's about moving more often and not more overall. So the Fitbit does have a useful tool. I'm going to share some stuff with you. And one of them is how many hours in the day out of a potential 14. So I'm going to share the screen here, and hopefully you can see this. And if this is legible, you'll see that today so far, I've had 3 of my 14 hours. Why 14? Those, I assume it gives you a break for sleeping and resting and things like that, have been active. Well, I was outside this morning with a snowblower doing some things and just moving around, getting weights ready for my next client. But if I look at the last week, on average, I had 9.3 of my 14 hours where I had at least 250 steps. The week before was 9.3. The week before was 10 of 14 hours. The week before was 9.7. So I seem to be fairly consistent. Now, am I aiming for that? No, but I do like to track it because I do think that moving often. I mean, do the math. If I was to do 250 steps only for all 14 of those hours, that would only come to less than 4,000 steps in the whole day, but it would be throughout the day, which I think is more important because it's just sitting and being still. For those people who work in an office like I did for hours and get caught up doing some work on your computer, doing email and things like that, next thing you know, you've been sitting there for 3 or 4 hours doing nothing. And I think that's what to avoid. Now, as for the 150 minutes a week, interestingly, I don't do anything on purpose that would be considered cardio. So this thing tracks zone minutes. You see, so far today, I have 25 zone minutes. And apparently, these are fat burn minutes or cardio and peak minutes if I'm at a certain heart rate. I don't think these things burn fat very much. I think that's a pipe dream, to tell you the truth. I think I really have to just take care of diet. Although moving often does help you to, just go back here. Moving often does send a signal to your body that everything is okay and that it's safe to lose fat. Because if you're moving still all the time, I think what I've read is that the signal to your body is maybe you're in hibernation, things like this, and it's time to conserve fat. So if I look at during the week, and I look at, well, so far, Sunday and today, so far I already have 75 zone minutes. So last week I had 265. The week before that, 157. The week before that, 199. The week before that, 290. And that's just, I have some a barn and some animals in there, some ducks. I go out there every day. Of course, recently I live in Canada in the winter, so there's some snow removal to be done. And of course, I'm walking around doing some, getting weights ready for my next clients. And of course, I'm working out myself as well, which lately I've been doing just 1 or 2 exercises every day, but still only staying to less, actually probably less than 10, the most 15 total sets in a full week. So again, the point is here, this 150 minutes, if you're reasonably active, you're probably getting that, but moving around just regularly is the main thing. I would not be concerned if I had less than 150, as long as I had those ongoing steps. Like if I look, for example, at my steps, my average steps, let's see here, today I have 3409. So this week, let's see, hang on, this is not an average, this is a total. So last week it was 51,000 in 7 days. So that's less than 70. 51,000 the week before, 52,000 the week before, 62. So 52 divided by 7 is about 7,000 and change steps per day. And I think that's all that you really need. And I just think those numbers, the 10,000 steps and the 150 minutes, are pretty arbitrary, to tell you the truth. And I don't know where they get those from. On a note, a lot of stuff that's done for exercise, and I hate to say it, but a lot of times for medical research and things like that, wouldn't pass the muster, because the human body is so complicated, and the way that these studies are done often, and by they're funded, but I won't go off that tangent too much. But if you think about when they do research for the people who manufacture your car, especially if you got like a real, well, any car these days are so great, is when they do research to see what works, metal alloys, or different ways of using hydraulics, computers and things like that. There's no observational studies. Everything is done. It either works exactly right or it doesn't work exactly right. And think about it, I'm using a car, but you could use many different technologies, appliances, and things like that. And I should point out here, not the ones where they're mandated to do certain things by government regulations, but when they're just trying to make the absolute best thing that they can in order to be competitive in the marketplace. Engineers, when they do studies, they have to be exact, and there's no forgiveness, because they go between fractions of a millimeter to make things fit, and everything has to be exactly perfect. Anyways, that's it for now. Once again, move often today, don't sit, and leisurely pace. I don't really care where you get your heart rate up to or not. To me, if you get 250 steps an hour for the majority, if not most, of your waking hours, which is probably around 14 hours, maybe more, then that should work for you. Anyways, bye for now.